Thinking is continuous torture and it's stopping you from achieving your goals. So I'm going to show you how to get clear of it and actually do shit with your life. This is Mastering Manhood. So the first thing we have to talk about is how thoughts actually happen. And then the second thing is going to be why we think in the first place. So let's start with the actual anatomy of thoughts. So we have this ocean that we're experiencing. Consciousness, awakeness, aliveness. You already know that you're alive and awake. That's the only thing you actually know, which is going to be the root of something later. Okay? And out of this ocean of consciousness, there's like continuous thoughts that are just arising. They play in your consciousness and then they fall away, like musical notes. Bum, 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 bum. And it never stops. The note arises, it crests, you notice it, and then it falls away. Notice that. Okay? Now what's going on, the mistake is we think that things are happening one after the other, okay? This is an illusion. It's not true. But that's what keeps us into making this time and space make sense so that we can operate, right? But the thoughts themselves are not actually happening A and then B and then C. They each arise spontaneously out of the field themselves. So just notice this. The thoughts don't actually arise one and then the next one and then the next one, okay? An event or a sequence of perception is just perception. There's no such thing as an event. You don't even actually experience change. You are only experiencing what is, which is really not speakable and understandable. So for the mind to understand how do I survive, it has to track stuff in time and space. I'm here, the rabbit is there, I have to kill the rabbit. That's how you evolved. That's the purpose of thinkingness. But now that we have reached a new state where we're willing to experience a different dimension and let go of the animal nature progressively, we can understand that we don't need to cling on to thinking. So this is how thoughts arise. They arise like flying fish out of the ocean. It's not like one fish and then the next fish and the next fish. They actually happen randomly and spontaneously. Some over here, some about your mom, some about childhood, some about what you have to do next week. They're arising like spontaneously. Non-stop, okay? And this is what you have to do. You have to sink your attention not from the fish, okay? But you need to go under and notice the space below the thinking. Where are the thoughts arising from? They're arising from a silence. That's the only reason that you can even experience them in the first place. Okay? So how do we let go of thinking? Number one is that it's a decision. I have to say, I'm done with thinking. This is why I make videos about retard maxing, is because it's a decision to be retarded. Make yourself retarded. Just be dumb and let go of projecting. Because what happens when you let go of projecting and thinking that you know and that you understand anything, or that you understand what your best interests are, you understand what other people think. It's like all of this is like a house of mirrors. Just come back to yourself. Come back to this ocean. Sink down. And you might be thinking, yo, truthful living, how do I sink down into my attention to the silence? You just notice that it's already there. It's already the essence of who you are. So think about this, okay? You have content that you're experiencing. You are a guy, whatever your name is. My name's Al, okay? You have a guy, but this guy is being experienced in a sort of field that is not a guy, okay? The body is present, but it's in a field where there's object and there's space. So the object is in what kind of space? The space is the context. So there's this entire context, okay? Now what is the context? The context is basically God or consciousness. It's the screen. There's nothing, the screen isn't contained in the movie. It's what the movie is being played on. So when you're noticing thoughts, all the thoughts are content, okay? The thoughts are all content, but the context applies through everything. So what's the context? Is that God is infinitely loving and infinitely merciful and infinitely powerful. And so that is what we're sinking into when we do healing or prayer or meditation. As we sink into, it's like we remove ourselves. We start to dissolve the barrier. We're dissolving the barrier in between us and the universe, okay? It's not that the thoughts go away, it's that our identification with content is pulled back. And this is through the forms of progressive realization, or the fields of progressive realization. So the first phase is we truly believe that we are the content, that we are form. I'm the body. This is an unquestioned, unconscious belief that we act through all of our actions, okay? It's I'm the body, the source of my existence is the body. The source of my life is the body. The source of my awareness is what my body is generating, okay? Then we notice, oh, I have a body. Register. Oh, it registers I have a body, okay? And then we recognize, oh, I'm registering that I have a body. You notice how you're pulling back, like you're zooming out, okay? You're zooming out and you're witnessing the phenomena without being so attached and in it, okay? This is gonna help you to let go of the thinking. So once you reach this phase, this is extremely important. This is the witness. Witness, observer, okay? The witness observer is always present in anything. Because how do you know what you know? Because there's a witness. But the witness is not saying anything. It's like the screen. So be the audience. This is what retard maxing is. It's being the audience. Just notice without casting judgment. And the ultimate form of being this is you let go of judging anything. You leave all judgment up to God, no matter what the situation is. So what's containing the witness observer itself is what we call the field of awareness. Now, the field of awareness is occurring spontaneously. So let's do a little exercise. Let's go top to bottom. There's the body. You believe that you're the body. You take one step up, register, oh, there's the body. Recognize that you're registering, okay? Now we witness, we step into being the witness observer, which is not doing or saying anything, okay? And sink into the realization that awareness is happening of its own. It's like the flying fish. The flying fish are happening of their own. The thoughts, the stream of thoughts are happening of their own. And the consciousness that is holding it is also happening of its own. So now we have the field, which we could call consciousness. This is basically the last layer. Consciousness itself, awareness itself, life itself. This is the context. So up here is content, okay? And we're getting progressively more into context. And notice how we're getting closer and closer towards the truth or the reality of what you are. So content and the belief that you're in content, it's not that content is an illusion. It's not that your body is an illusion, but what it means to you, how you contextualize it changes, okay? So as you become more and more detached from the content, you start to identify with consciousness itself. So these are the fields of progressive realization of who am I. So instead of writing content, I'm going to write just something more intrinsic, okay? I'm not going to write who, but what. What am I, okay? This is what we want to know. What am I? Because we start with thinking that we're our thoughts. We're our thoughts, we're the content of the mind, and we're the body. So we think that we're the body, we think that we're the content of the mind. But what are we really? This is the progressive fields as you do meditation or contemplation, okay? The realization that we are consciousness. And what are the qualities of consciousness? Infinite, limitless, spontaneous, beautiful, peaceful, serenity, beauty, okay, power. These are the fields that we want to operate from. And ultimately, at the end of this path, what is discovered to be the essence of ourself is actually divinity, okay? This is where it ends, is God. But it's not normal in Western society to say, I am God. You'd sound crazy. But what they mean is when you say, I, what am I in truth, is how could you be anything other than God if God is everything? And if God is everything, and God is all loving and all merciful, how does he allow suffering to happen? This is the most common question about religion. This is what kept me an atheist for years. How could an all-powerful, all-loving God allow suffering to happen? He doesn't. The human, the creation chooses to co-create. So God gives us free will. If there was no free will, there would be no karma, there'd be no merit, there'd be no adventure, because how could you ever be separate? We are separate in order to have an experience. This is why this is the illusion, is in order to have a human experience, we need to have a body and a form that goes along with it. Because you can't play volleyball or basketball or play an instrument or have sex without a body. In order for the body to evolve, it needs to have an ego to survive. It needs to believe that the form is what's keeping it alive because it needs to keep the form alive. But once you have reached a certain level, you can start to retract and start to go home and start to affirm, like, no, I'm not actually, what I truly am is not the form. What I truly am is not the animal. I'm not actually hell-bent on survival. There's a part of you that is, but it's not who you are. So we're talking about identity. Identity. Who am I? This is how you get to the root of thinkingness. It's because thinkingness is an identity. It's an identity, okay? The only reason you're attached to your thoughts is because they're your thoughts. Other people's thoughts aren't so charming. You want to hear what I think about this? Not really, right? This is a very, very intrinsic, effortless yin practice. Okay, so you're thinking, Al, how do I let go of thinking? Well, first of all, just affirm to yourself that, like, I'm not my thoughts. And just notice this just by witnessing. So this is where most people, or where you want to basically end up, okay? Is the witness observer. If you can become the witness observer, and just notice that it's happening of its own. So consciousness naturally wants to return to its source. All souls want to return back to God on their own. That's an intrinsic motivation. This is what would make you happy. So in previous videos, I've said that you have no idea what would make you happy. So what would actually make you happy is making progress and evolution towards returning to the source, which is the source of true happiness. But what we get instead by the thinking, by the continuous torture of thinking, is entertainment. Now, ultimately, that's why we're here. We're here to entertain ourselves and entertain each other. But once you've had enough of that game and you say, I want out, but you're still here, how do we make progress towards getting out of here? Is we surrender. We surrender. So this is a process of surrendering, okay? And it's effortless. Surrendering is effortless. Surrender works because all you're giving up is illusion. You're like shedding what is not you, okay? When you start to let go, progressively let go of illusions, you don't lose who you are. It's an identity. It's an identity thing. You believe that if you let go of wanting to get revenge, that you will die. Because you believe that the source of your life is the animal. And this is the message of Jesus, is he's saying, while being crucified, forgive them, for they know not what they do. This is the ultimate act of the spiritual will, is forgiveness. So another word for surrender is forgiveness. So you're letting go of what is not true. Because if you saw clearly, you wouldn't have to project thinking onto anything, because everything is self-explanatory. Everything is what it is. Everything just means what it is. Everything is serving your evolution. So even the negative is serving the evolution. It's serving this process of surrender. As we shed layers and layers and layers of what we are not, then we are coming home. The ultimate sense of coming home is being like, I accept myself. I am who I am. I am one. I'm complete. I'm whole. And the animal has an intrinsic nature of that it needs to get. It needs to get in order to become whole. It has an intrinsic belief that it's not complete. And when you believe that you're not complete, you can't be happy. You can temporarily satisfy urges, but you can't actually reach a point where you say, I'm happy, period. And if you truly examine why you do anything that you do, at the end of the road, it'll always be because it'll make me happy. Why do you want to go talk to this girl? Because I'll get a girlfriend. Because then I'll have a family. Okay, and then what? And then I'll have kids. And then what? And then I'm going to be happy. So anything that you want on the other end is being happy. That's why when I coach people, I always start at the end. Why don't we just start by being happy now? And how do you do this? It's the progressive fields of realization, because happiness isn't even a question to the witness observer. The witness observer is always happy because it's complete, it's one, it's infinite. It interpenetrates all things. It's non-judgmental. And that's the essence of who you are. And so when we're being tortured by thinking, we need to first realize, take responsibility and be like, okay, I've actually chosen on a certain level to buy into the thinking because it's entertaining. It's a replacement for nothing going on. But as soon as we realize, okay, these thoughts are actually not making me happy, then it takes a lot of humility to say, you know what, I actually don't understand. I don't understand anything. And then you ask God to reveal it to you. And that's when the truth comes. That's when happiness can be achieved. That's when forgiveness is achieved. Forgiveness is laying down our perception to God and allowing Him to illuminate the truth for us. That's what forgiveness is. We need to make a commitment to laying down our thinkingness to God and letting Him judge. And this is the most beautiful and freeing thing that you can do, because that's what you truly want. What you truly want is to be free and to be happy. And the only way to reach this is like by giving up our perception. Stop projecting and just be retarded. Just be stunned and silent and like so dumb that even your own thoughts are like dismissed as like, bro, like that's ridiculous. Because healing perception it happens in one moment. That's what a miracle really is. The miracle is not healing or flying. The miracle is healing our perception. Okay? The past is not real. It's over. The past is a perception. The future is a projection. Okay? Once you sink into the reality of who you are and operate from that place as best you can, then we're starting to become more Christ-like. Then we're starting to treat neighbors as ourself. Okay, because there's no limitation to this. There's no limitation to consciousness. Our I, our true self, is one with all that is. And this is how we fulfill our purpose. This is how we enter the flow of life. This is how we find ourselves in the middle of the river, where we're not resisting and we're just flowing with the current. And we're just enjoying being played like an instrument. So we ask to be an instrument of God's peace. We ask to increase our awareness of our own reality, and we ask God with sincere gratitude and humility to free us from thinking, become willingness to let go of our projections, and just make an earnest attempt to, not even attempt, just make an appeal to God. Like, God knows everything. Just, He knows what you mean when you say, God, I don't know what I'm doing. Please help me. He knows. He knows. And if you need help letting go of thinking, then just ask. This is the most powerful thing you can do. God bless. Hope you find peace. Amen.